one. And we're live. Hello, everybody. This is Minutes with Ming. It's Ming here, coming at you with another episode of Minutes with Ming Lockdown Sessions. And here with Kendra Carter, here to talk about BTS and her love of K-pop. How are you, Kendra?
I'm doing good. Doing good. However well you can do in a lockdown, but
Yeah. So, can you give us a little picture of what K-pop is to start, and then we can go into BTS?
yeah, for sure. So K-pop is essentially just kind of a very big umbrella for any music that kind of comes out of Korea. You have anything from a K band to like your idol groups to rappers. A little bit of everything is just kind of under that umbrella that is K-pop.
Hmm. Okay. So, let's get on to the main course of the day. Who is BTS? Let's get started with that out of the picture.
So BTS, for anybody who doesn't know, is a seven-member boy band from South Korea. They're currently topping all your charts from Billboard to pretty much any world chart at this point, iTunes in like 111 countries. But yeah, there's seven boys that all originate from South Korea, and they all got put together by a company labeled Big Hit, and they are currently just topping the charts.
Wow. Can you give them their names?
Yep. So it is RM for their stage name, otherwise known as Kim Namjoon. There's Kim Sok Jin. Most people just call him Jin. We have Jung Ho Sok, which is just J Hope. There's Sugar, who is Min Yoon Gi, and then Park Jimin, who just goes by Jimin. Kim Tae Hyung, who goes by V as a stage name, and then Jung Jungkook.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit of the history of the BTS, how they come from, the Lost Boys before and then making top hits now?
So BTS is kind of a very weird story. They really came from a company who had absolutely nothing. Like Big Hit at a certain point had almost gone completely bankrupt. So they ended up finding Kim Namjoon after he actually failed an audition elsewhere at a different company, but they brought him in, and their whole plan was to originally make a hip hop group, but then they kind of found like a lot of the vocalists and then decided to debut as an idol group more so than a hip hop group. But all the members kind of just come from a little bit of everywhere. Like J-Hope, background in street dancing. Jimin is background in like contemporary dance. Sugar and RM are both underground rappers before joining. And then like we have some members like V, who originally wasn't even gonna audition. He just went with a friend. And they ended up scouting him. So it was kind of just a weird group of ragtag boys all kind of put together with a company who had almost no money. They weren't expected to make it at all, especially like to how they are nowadays. But I mean, it somehow just worked, I guess.
Okay, that's very interesting. Um, can you tell me like what kind of albums they had in the beginning, how the genres morphed, like
Uh,
overall?
yeah, so like a lot of their early music, which most people like if they have or just getting into BTS, is very, very different from the music that they have now. And not in a bad way, but a lot of their early music was very more hip hop based. It had a lot more rapping in it. It was a little bit more, I guess, on the harder side of music. I don't want to say it was specifically just hip hop because they still had a lot of like their kind of poppy tracks here and there as like B-side tracks. But like a lot of their early music was definitely talking about things that most K-pop artists wouldn't talk about, in which it was like about the school system in Korea and how it is very, very rigid and you're expected to do very well with the schooling system out there, and how it was kind of okay to rebel a little bit with a lot of their earlier albums.
Okay. When I first start listening to BTS in their beginning, I thought they were like if Big Bang had a kid, that's uh like the
Yeah,
per se.
you wouldn't be wrong in that fact. They were a lot more on like the hip hop side with the rap. They were definitely a lot more rebellious than most K-pop groups would be, because a lot of the K-pop groups would be kind of very to the book, just because that's how you get airtime. That's how you get it's not very common in Korea to be going against the system in the first place. So they had a lot of just, I don't want to say, I don't really know what word I would use here, but like they were very different in how they were doing things. Because it was another thing too, is back when BTS debuted, most K-pop artists weren't writing their own music.
Okay.
A lot of the groups would have their music written for them specifically for certain things, themes, whatever they were going for with their comebacks. But a lot of BTS, specifically RM, Suga, and J-Hope, would be writing a lot of their music back then. And they would kind of tone it or make it relatable, I guess, to a lot of youth back during that time. But I think that definitely set them apart.
Well, to me, it was like, that too cool for school outfit. It's like the reminiscent of like VIP Big Bang era of like their first EP, or is it album or EP that they first came out? Like they were in like street clothes and stuff. If you really went back to it, like from what I've seen, because I started with liking Big Bang. That was my, let's say, before Psy, before Psy's entrance to international. That took took K-pop from semi well known worldwide to like well known worldwide. Like that's, to me, it's like, but at the pre-Psy era, I feel like K-pop, like Big Bang, was one of the big ones, I think. And they definitely had that kind of very edgy hip hop vibe, that boys know how to dance kind of vibe. And then eventually, okay, I feel like in some ways, I know that RM said that like during the beginning, Big Bang was one of their influences.
Oh, 100%. Like BTS, I don't really want to call them fanboys, but they were 100% Big Bang fanboys. Like even just watching some of their videos, they have the clippets of them just like dancing in their dressing room while filming a music video, and it's just them dancing ridiculously and singing at the top of their lungs to Big Bang. So they definitely had some influence there between, I mean, any of the members. So
let me talk about to me, it's like what makes them so special among the rest of the K-pop community. In like I know that there's a lot of other K-pop band there's besides BTS, but how did they broke through and start playing in like Canadian radio or the US radio per se?
I mean, honestly, like what set them apart was, like I said earlier, they do a lot of their own songwriting. They do a lot of their own production, especially nowadays. Like they did almost all of BE on their own. But I find the fact that they made their music so relatable to anybody, even people who don't speak Korean, anybody who doesn't, listen, like doesn't understand the language, you can still kind of listen to it. And one of my coworkers actually said this to me the one day while I was listening to them at work. She's like, I can feel that this is a sad song about something. Like I have no idea what they're saying, but like I'm still getting the emotion out of it, which I think definitely set them apart, of the fact that because they write all their own music, they can relate to it better and kind of give off that tone more. But honestly, how they blew up in the West was probably still a mystery to this day. Like we as an army are very crazy in loving our boys and trying to get them out there and get the radio play and get all of this stuff happening. But like it was still kind of a very big mystery as to how they just kind of blew up. Per se.
I feel like if I look at them like very objectively, I think they started blowing up around the song. I'm not sure what album was what. I think Dope.
I mean, even with Dope. So Dope was the most beautiful moments in life. Part 1. Part 1. So it was the same time as I Need You. So they started really blowing up in Korea with I Need You. I Need You was definitely kind of like a turning point in their music, where they went from the very like hardcore, edgy, like Big Bang style of music to they started writing, I don't want to say softer music because they still had all their bangers that they had, but like with that album specifically, it was very, very relatable, specifically to young people, in the fact that like it was kind of showing like, yeah, you can have moments of happiness when sad times are happening, or vice versa. You can be sad when you might not even have a reason to be, but it's okay. So that album really related with people. And then when Dope happened, it was just one of those songs that was so catchy that everybody was just having it stuck in their head almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they really blew up kind of out in the West until probably just after Wings. So kind of like Blood, Sweat and Tears era, DNA era was when they really started blowing up with the AMA performance and starting to win billboards and all that craziness that just happened within the span of just a couple of months.
Well, like to me, it's very interesting, and I feel like the moment like when I first started listening to them on the radio, like here, like in the West and stuff, I'm like, okay, I think they're gonna like the first um song I heard of them on the radio was Mic Drop, I think, like in
Oh my
terms of
God.
in terms of radio, but I like the original song with Steve and Aoki, but I did not like it when they added Designer into the song.
Yeah. So I remember somebody had called me. I think I was at work and somebody had called me and was like, you need to turn on like Hot 93.5. They're playing
Mm.
BTS right now. And I was like, wait, what? Like I'm at work, like middle of helping customers, and somebody just called me. Like one of my friends that I hadn't talked to in ages was like, they're playing BTS on the radio. You need to turn the radio on.
Mm.
And I remember like my local radio hosts, because I used to work like 5 a.m. in the morning. Like I used to work dumb shifts. So I would like call them at 5:30 being like, hey, can you play some BTS for me? To the point where we were on like a first name basis. But yeah, like I definitely was not a huge fan of the Designer one, but I kind of realized why they did it, because without the collab back then, we probably wouldn't have gotten the radio play. So it was kind of exciting, but also kind of disappointing at the same time.
But I personally thought that adding Steve Aoki onto the track would be enough to be on the radio per se. That's
I
my
would
thing.
I would definitely hope so, but I feel like there is a lot of people that like only listen to that song because Designer was on it. Because with current generations, like Designer was blowing up at the time,
Okay,
so I mean, it
okay,
made
fair.
sense
Mm-hmm.
to kind
Okay,
of just
okay.
appeal to the extra genres of
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And then that eventually, like that was in my opinion, what should I say? One of the last reaches towards heavier side until like and then Fake Love came. Like when
Oh,
fake love came, and then I feel like that like took their I feel like that's one of their, in terms of like dance choreography, one of their most like emotional hits. What did you?
oh, that's I agree. I agree. Like
Mm-hmm.
Fake Love has some of the best choreography that they've ever done. The music
Mm-hmm.
video in and of itself was amazing with the videography and how it was filmed, and just everything about that music video was beautiful. And like that started blowing up even on the radio here in Sudbury, where it's the middle of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere and nobody listens to K-pop.
Mm-hmm.
So even that was pretty amazing. And like, yeah, that definitely blew them up like crazy, because they did their performance of Fake Love at, what was it, Billboard?
Mm-hmm.
AMAs? Billboard?
One of
God, I
them.
can't remember. One of them. One of them. And like I just remember too, like watching that performance and seeing like Kelly Clarkson with her big pink obnoxious headphones being like, I've met you people before. You guys are just, and like you couldn't even hear her because all the armies who actually went were just screaming so loud.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that definitely piqued a lot of people's interests. So then they
Mm-hmm.
go and look at the music video and they're like, oh, these guys are actually pretty freaking cool. Like that's awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is something new.
Mm-hmm. Like one thing that find me interesting that about when they start blowing up like international wise, that only RM in that group actually speaks English and talks to them. Like to
Yes,
me, that's just, to me it's just like from like comparing to like Big Bang and stuff, like they actually do can communicate somewhat well in English, and then compare like Blackpink where you can actually like some of the members actually
they
wants
have
to,
like full English
yeah,
speaking members. Yeah.
yeah. And to me, it's like that's interesting that how can, like to me, if you want to blow up in the West in internationally wise, you have to speak some kind of English. But like from what I've seen before, right? But then Psy just threw that out of the picture like completely with Gangnam Style, like back in like 2010.
What, 2012?
Yeah,
When was that?
2012.
2012, I think.
Yeah. So like to me, it's like I thought that if you want to like hit up big, you have to like speak like everyone speaks like hello, like in like insane like in sequence to speak proper English and stuff. But then Psy just threw that out of the water for me. Just like, okay, you don't have to speak English on an album to
have it blow up.
Yeah. Like,
and I mean, like Psy was insane. Like I remember hearing like when Gangnam Style came out, like I was bartending at the time, and like that song would play in the club all the time, and I was just so confused as somebody who came from like, you know, closeted K-pop fan,
yes,
to like, why this is just on the radio now. This is being played at really high-end bars where I worked, and I was like, what is happening?
Yes.
Like everybody would get so excited, and I was like, this could be a very good thing.
What I think was the most interesting part was that they had a dance element, like a very simple dance adding into the choreography of the song, so it's very relatable for everybody, and it is very easy to learn. So I think having a dance element in that song helped them push forward too. Like Soldier here, like Soldier Boy here, like the
blew up.
Yeah, it blew up because the combination of the song and the dance, right? So I think that Gangnam Style took that trend and then just made the Korean version of that, and then Psy has his own comedy.
Oh yeah. Psy just being Psy at any given point. Yeah.
And then fast forward, BTS, they have everything, like the dance, the music, everything. Like,
as a K-pop fan, like, no, it's totally fine. As a K-pop fan, like the choreography is like, it's another one of those things when I was explaining K-pop, like K-pop also describes, especially when you go from like an idol group. So you take like Big Bang, you take BTS, you could take ONE, any K-pop group. And like, they're so set on how the performance looks. So it's the costuming, the makeup, all the behind the scenes, the sets, the choreography. Like that's really what sets it aside from a lot of like Western artists. I don't want to say all Western artists, because there's people like Pink out there who are doing full gymnastic shows in the middle of the sky during her concerts. But it's definitely something new that people aren't used to. And that's kind of one of the selling points of K-pop, is the fact that you have the choreography. Like K-pop stars talk about it all the time. They have the point choreography. So for like any song, there's always that one part of the choreography that everybody's going to know. With Psy's, it was just a lot easier, I guess, because the choreography was not that complicated.
Yes.
But
yeah, like totally and stuff. Like, and then I just wondering, because you mentioned ARMY, for people that don't know, who are the ARMY and what is the ARMY and what do they represent for BTS?
So ARMY is actually, like, you take any kind of fandom name is essentially what ARMY is. So you take like Beyonce, you have the Beehives, you take BTS, they're called ARMY. And ARMY is actually an acronym for Adorable Representative MC of Youth. Is what it actually fully stands for. We don't use it too much anymore. But it was just, ARMY is our fandom. So it's kind of crazy. We're all a little crazy. But yeah, with K-pop, like, especially for us, we definitely take the being a representative of youth. We do a lot of charity work, especially around anytime a member has a birthday. We're like, oh, well, we're not going to buy them stuff. We're going to be like, they like this charity. We're going to go and support that. We're going to go donate all our money, or, you know, we work on funds and fan events and pretty much anything you could possibly imagine at this point. I know, like, for Namjoon's birthday, we went and planted a whole bunch of trees just because we could.
That's so nice. But I've seen that in real life, ARMY have kind of like taken over a lot of things per se, in terms of like there's BTS and there's ARMY, and then ARMY would like be, let's say, very cult-like.
Yeah. I mean, yes, 100%. I think that could be said about any K-pop group if you look hard enough. Like, I think my favorite thing, showing anybody who doesn't know what BTS is or what ARMY are like fan chant videos. Fan chant videos are probably the funniest thing. So fan chants, how they work is when a song is released, you take like Fake Love, for example, the official company releases like, this is the song lyrics, and these are what are supposed to be chanted at any given specific point during the song. So if you actually watch like one of their Korean performances or like a concert performance from like the crowd's point of view, all you hear is the fans just screaming very specific things at certain times for the songs. It's usually like the members' names or certain parts of the lyrics as kind of like an echo. But at any given point, but yeah, we definitely look like a cult anytime there's like a concert or something. You just see, like, I went to Chicago for the Speak Yourself tour, which was a stadium of like 45,000 people, and like afterwards we all just piled out of there, and you could see like people walking down the street looking at us being like, who are all these crazy people? What are they doing here? What is happening? But yeah, definitely probably pretty cult like, not gonna lie.
And then I feel like you guys would defend BTS to the teeth. Look what happened to Jason Derulo when he didn't say thank you for BTS on his song. What's that song called again?
Savage Love.
Like Savage Love, yes. And look what happened with
he got canceled pretty quick. Got canceled pretty quick. I don't want to say we have the biggest cancel culture, but with that one, that was just a real big, like, I guess, kick to the face, because Savage Love never charted number one when it was just his own version, right? When it was him and the other two people who had made that song with him. Like Savage Love never charted that high. And then we were like, okay, well, look, it's a BTS version of it. It's got Yoongi, it's got J-Hope, it's got JK. We're going to, throw all the likes at it and hopefully it charts, just because we wanted to do it for one of the members' birthdays. But then he's like, oh, thank you for the number one, and just never thanked BTS, which is the only reason it got to number one.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we got a little angry, because who wouldn't at that point? And we know BTS aren't going to say anything, so yeah.
Okay.
We got a little angry.
Yes. And then apparently they took down some of, like, they bought all the tickets to one of the Donald Trump presidential rallies, I heard.
We did do that. There was, I guess Donald Trump was selling his tickets for, what was it? Arizona? No, it wasn't Arizona. Texas?
Not too sure.
It was one of the ones in the States. I wasn't able to attempt to buy one because I'm not American. I guess you actually had to have like a zip code to buy it. But yeah, we didn't want Donald Trump to get all the, I guess, people to show up. So it was really funny too, because when that actually happened, he's like, oh, all the tickets are sold out. Every seat is full. And you couldn't really tell from the actual broadcast of Trump's thing, but there was pictures where like the back half of like the stadium he was in was empty, because it was all the people who reserved tickets and then just never showed up. So that was actually pretty funny. I guess they got like all the people who did show up to just move forward, so then all the back seats were just empty, and then they just put the cameras behind those people to make it look like there was a bunch of people behind.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's very interesting. And like, I feel just to me, super interesting. Like, how can one fandom can help like sell out a stadium, like without like all the politics aside, it's just that sheer volume of voice. You know what I mean?
well, a lot of our fans come off as like, oh, you're all just teenagers, kind of like if you think of average fans of like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC back in the day. Oh, you're all just a bunch of teenagers. You don't have adult jobs. You don't have your own money. You're just spending your parents' money. But it comes down to like BTS donated $1 million to Black Lives Matter last year. And they didn't publicize it in any way. It just essentially kind of got leaked that they had. So then us as a fandom were like, well, we're going to try to match that million. We didn't think we were going to do it. Within 24 hours, we had though.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then you had people turning around like John Cena, who oddly enough is a BTS fan. Love John Cena to death. I love that man. But he actually went, oh, well, the fans are doing it, so here you go. I'm going to donate an extra $1 million. So between BTS, ARMY, and John Cena, we donated $3 million to Black Lives Matter within the span of like a week.
Wow. That's very, like, to me, it's like very admirable that $3 million in a week. That's like, to me, like, it's pretty crazy.
Maybe about a week, like, because we found out maybe a week after that BTS had donated. So then we're like, no, screw it, we're gonna do it. Like 1 million and 25. So we like, there was a couple. We have like essentially groups within the fandom that are like, oh, like we're gonna do charity here. Like, here you go if you want to check it out. And like those people would essentially collect the money and then donate. And we had like a page to track who was donating, where they were donating. and all of that. So we eventually got to the 1 million. But BTS does a lot of charity work, just all over the place. We've had RM who donated to a school for children with special needs for their music program. He donated a whole bunch of money so they could have instruments and still keep their music program because it was suffering. So like he donated to that. Yoongi's donated to like orphanages. Like we've had like BTS works with the UN on a daily basis where they did an entire campaign with the UN for it was called The Love Myself. So they sold a whole bunch of merch and all the proceeds from that merch went to the UN to work on a program to get youth into schools all over the world.
Wow, that's super, super cool. Like I never like heard, like I like BTS and I know Kay likes BTS, but I never know that they're very like public figure per se. And I can't talk about BTS without asking you, who's your bias?
So I'm triple biased in a way. I am a Yoongi bias, 100%. Yoongi is probably like my spirit animal. I probably relate to him the most, but I do also stan J-Hope, and JK has just kind of worked his way up there somehow.
For the fans that don't know, JK is Jungkook, right? So,
Jungkook, yeah, okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, JK is Jungkook. It's just long name, so we either call them Cookie, Cook, JK, just as a short form.
Going to Macne.
Yeah, little tiny baby bean who just grew up and is now scaring me because like was when they debuted, he was 15.
Middle
school. He was 15 years old when they debuted. And I'm like, you're like the same age as my younger sister. Like I couldn't put it through my head. I was like, oh, he's such a small baby. And then he just grew up and I'm like, you're not a baby anymore. And I don't know what to do with you, but hi.
Interesting. I don't know about exactly who my bias is, but I really like V. He has a very warm voice. Like I like, but I'm not gonna lie. My favorite rapper is like Augusti. To be honest.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yes. All the time. Yes. Oh my God. Like he is insane with his songwriting. Like there was the one interview where they were talking and Namjoon's like, yeah, I asked Yoongi how many songs he writes in a day. So like Sugar, Augusti, Yoongi. And it's like, he's like, yeah, I kind of have an idea of at least one song every day. Like it's like 300 songs a year. And he's like, okay, well maybe not that many, but like 250-ish. And I'm like, like he actually ended up just getting put into, was it last year, the year before? He's actually part of the Korean Copyright Music Association because he writes music for other artists now too. So he's written for IU, he's written for like multiple other groups. So now he just has multiple song credits under his name because he'll just write music for other groups now because apparently he's that bored.
Oh yeah, especially during a pandemic, you literally have nothing to do except write music in your own in your own studio, I guess.
Well, he also just had like his shoulder surgery, right? So he was off. He didn't do the year-end performances. He didn't so he was just at home. So knowing him, he was probably working because he's such a workaholic. It's not even funny. But
like I love his take on Dojita. Like he, to me, is one of the most like, I don't know. I haven't heard of a lot of savage rappers lately, but I feel like that's pretty like really like one of the like really raw. Like it remind me of, who does that he reminds me of? He remind me of a little bit of G-Dragon actually.
He does definitely reminds me a little bit of G-Dragon, and even if we compare him to like Western artists, definitely reminds me of Eminem a little bit.
Yes.
Especially with the fact that like Eminem will write diss tracks to people who piss him off.
Yes.
And BTS will do the same.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh yes, Killshot. Yeah, Killshot. That was because I mean, like the rap line in and of themselves wrote what 4 diss tracks, dang 5 if you count it as a cipher, but not really. And then it's like, you know, pretty much any rap line. Oh God, I think my favorite thing about the rap line is they're so diverse in their styles of rapping. So you have J-Hope's like smoother, slower, very melodic flow into Yoongi's like insane speed where he just raps however many syllables in like such a short time. And then you have like RM with his wordplay of like he can rap between English and Korean like fluently. And it's like, that's impressive because like speaking 2 languages is hard enough, but being able to rap fluently with a super amazing flow and like as fast as he does, like that's just a whole other level. But they mesh so well.
They have like a very interesting flow that they have, especially in ciphers and like tier, like to me, in my opinion, cipher, like I like cipher, but I feel like tier and are more really polished. Like I feel like cipher are like they're like almost freestyle, don't have like an idea and stuff, like just rap and stuff. And then tier and cipher actually have some kind of idea. I'm sorry, not tier and have like and like a actual flow and structure, I guess, per se.
I mean, Tier is always going to have a special place in my heart because I got to see Tier 4 times.
Wow.
In person. Because I saw them 3 times in Chicago and then I saw them again in Korea. So like Tier is always going to have that special place because it's really funny too, is in Korea when you go and see a concert, if you ever watch like a concert video, it's really weird because the Korean fans will sit down until the group will tell you to stand up. So if they say stand up, you stand up for the song, and then once the song's done, you sit down again, which was really weird because like I sat through like so many hype songs. I was like, why am I sitting down for this? Because I'm so used to like Western culture where you will stand for the entire concert, you will scream your lungs out for the entire concert. It's definitely a different vibe going to concerts in Korea, but like for Tier, it was really funny because all the army bombs changed to like a green color. And then everybody just stood up without anybody saying anything. Like they weren't even on stage yet. And everybody's like, we're standing for this song. And I was like, all right, then.
For those who don't know, army bombs are like handheld lights.
Yes, I have one. I have 2. I don't have batteries in it at the moment. But these are actually really cool. They are Bluetooth. So when you go to a concert, they will actually, you just go and pair up where your seat is. And they'll actually light up in coordination of where you're sitting. So yeah, so they're all different. Like there was times where like if they want to spell something out in the crowd, like different people's army bombs would be doing different things. Stay. Don't break.
That's actually made of glass?
No, it's plastic. But I mean,
it's dropped. It's very susceptible to drops.
I'm just scared it's going to break because you can't get this one very easily anymore. Because like this is version 3, version 4 is up there. It's just a hassle to have to buy another one, and this one's been to 4 concerts with me now.
Wow. I just hope they come back. Like I hope when the COVID ends and stuff, they can actually come back, like to touring wise per se. And I feel like they need before Jin goes into military service and stuff, because I feel like it's gonna happen, not now, but like because I know that he got an extension, but it's
so from what I'm hearing, they're actually putting a law out right now that anybody who makes, so you know how like in Korea, because they have the mandatory military service, there are certain exceptions. So anybody who has any type of like, if they win a gold medal in the Olympics, or they win any medal in the Olympics actually, but if they get a medal in the Olympics, they're actually exempt from having to do their military service because they're bringing recognition to Korea. Well, apparently now, I looked it up, I think the other day, and if you win certain awards in your field, so for BTS, it would be music. So like Grammys, Billboard Awards. I mean, they haven't won the Grammys, but that's another... Yeah, that's another conversation.
We'll get back to that later.
yes, we'll get back to that later. But like they win Billboard Awards now, so like that's global recognition on a scale that most other K-pop stars aren't getting. So they might not even have to go do their military service, though. I feel like they will, just because of with how they are. I feel like it's their service to their country. So I'm feeling like they're going to, but it might be a little bit longer now. Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully a little bit longer. I hear a lot of criticism online about that going to do military service, like it's not very good for K-pop group in terms of their fame wise, like how they was like, I feel like that they might have a point. Like, do you think it's fair that Jin got an extension where the rest of the K-pop group like EXO, Big Bang and stuff did not get the extension and stuff.
I mean, like in a way, like I kind of understand where they're coming from because obviously, like not many groups survive military service because before it was 2 years, now it's 1.5 years, so it's 18 months of military service. And in the K-pop world, like that is a very long time. Like you have to realize most K-pop groups are releasing 2 to 3 albums a year. So to try to always be in the spotlight, it's not like American music where it's every 5 years you're getting an album from a group. It's, you know, every like 4 months you're getting an album from a group. So it definitely, I can understand where they're coming from. But at the same time, BTS is also so globally known. Like you can look at the statistics. So I went to Korea for the final tour of the Speak Yourself. In that one weekend alone, it is estimated that 100,000 foreigners came to Korea just for the concert, even if they didn't have tickets. 100,000 people having to get Airbnbs, spending money, buying food, buying merch. Like it did so much for the Korean economy in that one weekend. Like I had some people that I knew that went, they were there for like 3 weeks. They're like, oh, we're just going to make it a whole trip. And then they went to do a whole bunch of tourism. So, I mean, they do bring a lot of money into the Korean economy. Not that I'm saying that other K-pop groups don't, but maybe not to that scale.
So you think, I'm always curious about, what should I say? Like, how do you think that militaries, like, I'm always curious, like, how military service affect, like, the fame, like, what happened, like, when, let's say, Big Bang went to military and stuff, their fame dropped a lot because they didn't have the time to release music per se. Are you afraid that if BTS, let's say, go to militaries, let's say for 2 years, do you think they will lose fame like the rest of the K-pop, like the groups per se?
I like because there are some groups who survived military service, like Super Junior's still up and kicking, though they are down members. I mean, Big Bang did lose a lot in terms of fans, but that was more outside factors with other things happening.
Yes.
It's
for sure.
Whole other conversation.
Yes.
So there was a lot of like outside factors with Big Bang, but like there are some groups that can make it. Like SHINee just had their comeback. After pretty much all of them went to do their military service minus Taemin. But it's another thing too, is like if you look at some of the groups like Super Junior, for example, like a lot of them did like radio hosting, TV shows, like Heechul does how many variety shows nowadays. Like, you know, they do kind of other things to still keep that spotlight but not entirely lose it. So I mean, like I feel like they will lose some popularity just from not having music out, but I still think even if they go like 1 or 2 members at a time, they'll still be releasing music. So I don't think they're going to lose as much in terms of some other groups that have had to all go to military service and come back.
Okay. That seems very fair. Now, I want to hit a very touchy subject, the Grammys. What can you describe? What was your reaction, and how do you think it will affect the rest of the K-pop industry as a whole?
I almost threw my phone across the room when I found out that Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande won. And like nothing against them, by all means. Like they are both very good artists. But if you looked at the statistics, somebody had posted them on Twitter after. Like BTS had 800 million more views on their music video, like millions more views of Spotify streams. It had won 56 awards at that point compared to like the 6 that the other one had won. So we were very angry, and we were also very angry in the terms of like top group duo usually had always been announced on the main show. It was never a question. It was always one of like it was like essentially right after like artist, album, song. It was up there, right? And then they just decided, we're just gonna move it to the pre-show, which was in and of itself like just infuriating, because it wasn't even just with BTS. They did it with rap, hip hop, R&B, which obviously are filled with people of color. So like that just screams racism.
Mm.
all over the place to have all of those categories move to a pre-show.
Mm.
So I don't really think it's going to affect the K-pop industry as much. You could definitely tell after BTS had done their live, like they were sad. And a
Mm.
lot of us were sad with them. Like they had people noticed it, but they had a celebration cake. So I guess they had two cakes made, one for saying, "Oh, we were a nominee," and one just in case they won.
Mm.
But that one was just sitting in the background, and it was just kind of like, ah, oh, like
Yeah.
for how much they sell, like they outsell any Western counterpart
Mm.
by far. If you look at just
Mm.
straight album sales, like INFP, they release like just album. Oh, is it good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry, my phone's dying apparently.
Don't worry. Mm-hmm.
But they released the top albums of the year just solely based off of sales, streams, YouTube views, and like BTS was like number 1 and 3 for both their albums that had come out last year, and that was with BE only being out for a month and a half by the time of year end. So I think that was just a low blow in general, and there's a lot of angry people.
It's
will bounce back.
Yeah, but like to me, I am very sad that they lost the Grammys. But I have I'm not part of the group, but I have I think that Dynamite should have been a more stronger song. I understand they want to do an English take, but in my I have my own slight criticism. I feel like there is I feel like if you want to win the Grammys, you need to come up with like a very powerful song, I was expecting like dope but in English type of vibe when they're just power per se. I'm not saying it's a bad song by any means. I'm just saying like, wouldn't it be more interesting to have like a more of like a power song with a really good dance that's in English? That's my thing.
I can definitely agree with that. Like honestly, in a way, like armies are going to come after me for saying this, but I'm happy that they didn't win with Dynamite, because now I'm really hoping, like I feel like Dynamite for BTS was, let's see what happens when we make an all English song. Let's see how much recognition it gets. Let's see if we can be winning awards with it. I think it was just their test run. And I really hope that if they do win the Grammys in the future, which obviously we still want even after all the dumb stuff the Grammys did, we're still really hoping that if they win, like at least I hope it's with a song that is in Korean. Something like a Dope or a Fake Love or a Mic Drop, or something that it's not them going out of their way to just, let's see if this works.
Like I definitely agree with you, but that shows to me that if they didn't win, that just pushed Yoongi like 10 times harder than ever before. Like that I feel like that struck a nerve with him. I feel like they're super sad, but that just pushed Yoongi like 10 times harder. Just want to like make sure, because I feel like that was his dream. Like that was his number one dream as a producer, as a artist per se. That was his dream, and I feel like that's gonna push him to new heights per se.
I really feel like, I think the biggest blow of yesterday was after all was said and done, Yoongi posted the thing saying, "Don't worry, we're going to keep going harder than before." And I was like, this is from a man who literally went to Seoul with no money, had no backing from like even his family. He just wanted to be a songwriter, was all he wanted to do, but people were stealing his music. Like, he wasn't getting really any recognition for it. And like, even after debut, they had to work so hard to get there where they were today. They were not really handed anything. So like, coming from Yoongi, when he posted that tweet saying like, "Oh, we're gonna work harder," it just like, that hurt, because he's trying to make us feel better, but he's probably not feeling the best about himself in general.
Yeah,
so
I totally understand. I feel like there's another criticism from outsider that I have seen. I want to see if you agree with it or not, but like, not for like, I sort of agree, but I'm still bummed that they lost and stuff. Do you think that I know that their English isn't very good, but I feel like if you're playing in like Grammys, which is a Western show, which is a Western Music Award, I heard that the criticism that if they speak a little bit better English, like Blackpink level, do you think that and said something back to the Grammys at that particular level, do you think that might have made a difference or no?
I
That's my question.
I honestly don't think so, because then you could take somebody like Blackpink, who Blackpink does have, like, I personally
Mm-hmm.
not the biggest fan of Blackpink. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
am multi-fandom in a way that I do listen to a lot of other groups, but like
Mm,
there are other groups that have very good English. Like, you take Stray Kids, like a bunch of their members are from Australia, so they all speak English.
mm,
Or like even GOT7 had like 5 members who could speak English, but like that didn't really make a difference
mm,
for like any of these other groups who had really big English speakers in them. So it was, I don't think personally it would make a difference. I mean, like, I kind of wish that they'll win their Grammy without it eventually, as I was saying earlier. Kind of like if you take, for example, Parasite, when it won the Golden Globe,
mm-hmm,
or what are those awards? Yeah, so like he did his entire speech in Korean. I'm like, good for you. Like the fact that
mm,
a Korean movie
mm. That's
made it
fair.
like that far, right? Like, so I'm really
Mm,
hoping like BTS gets to that point
mm-hmm,
where the language barrier doesn't matter, because the Grammys posted a thing after, like, once the thing was done, it was like, yeah, we are non-racist, we support everything, and we just want music to be brought to people regardless of language. And I'm like,
excuse
really?
me.
Excuse me? After what you pulled?
Mm-hmm. I know that the army would not be happy about that and stuff. And to me,
Oh
it's just
no.
like but to me, it's just like it's just a little disappointing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I feel like I have to give props to Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande at the same time for coming up with a very powerful sound themselves too. And I feel like there's like respect where respect. Like I just if they lost to Justin Bieber, I'll be really angry. I'll be extremely angry. I'll be extremely angry. Mhm.
See, like, I have no problem with any of the other people who were nominated, but it was really funny. So I was actually at my friend's parents' house yesterday
Mm,
to play D&D when all of that was happening. And I like took my D&D break. We stopped for dinner or whatever, and that's when it was aired on the Grammys. So like I was sitting there looking at my phone, and I was just like raging, and they're looking at me and they're like, well, what song won? And I was like, well, it was Rain
mhm.
on Me by Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. And literally all 6 people in the room looked at me and went, what song? I was like,
Okay.
right? But like my thing
Mm.
is like, that's not even a group or duo. The reason I'm angry is because that's just a collab. That wasn't a group duo. That wasn't,
Like a permanent group duo per se.
yeah, it was
Mhm.
just a collab,
Mm,
which really bugged me because I was like, but even then, like there are so many other groups out there, like
mm,
even Western groups like out there that are actual groups or actual duos that could
mhm,
have been nominated over a collab.
mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing for me about that song winning. I was like,
Mhm,
I have
mm,
nothing against Lady Gaga. I have nothing against
mhm,
Ariana Grande. Like the song's not that bad, but
mhm. Yeah, that would definitely lead a bad taste in Army's mouth for years to come. I feel
mm,
like, and but yeah, one last question since we're running out of time.
yeah.
What do you think the future of BTS would hold in when you look into the future as like a dedicated Army fan and like sorry BTS fan as a dedicated Army?
Like I really hope, like I said with the Grammys, like I really hope that they get to that point where people are going to stop with the, oh well, they speak in another language, how do you understand them, all the
Mm,
questions you get being a K-pop stan of, oh well, you don't even know what they're saying or anything like that. Like that prejudice, I really hope at some point they can bypass that. As to like short term, like I have a feeling they have a comeback at some point
mhm,
soon. And in the long term, it really depends. Like I have a feeling they'll be doing their military service, and I know me as a fan, they do their military service. I won't be going anywhere. I will be here
mm,
when they get back,
mhm,
and I hope that they can kind of continue where they left off, because they're just at this point going so much higher than
mm,
anybody ever anticipated. Like I don't even think you can predict the future for them at this point,
mm,
because like it's so crazy, because they went from, in the span of like 2 years of never winning an award, to finally getting an award, and then not really getting much recognition after that, even in Korea. And then it was just they blew up everywhere. They were winning
Mm,
Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, like in Korean music shows. And then it was just, they just keep going up. And
mm,
there's, at this point, we don't even know where it's going to stop.
mm,
There's so many new fans at any given point where we're just craziness at any given
mm-hmm,
point. So
mm-hmm. Well, I just hope that they have a good future up ahead of them. Keep collaborating with Samsung. I think Samsung does contribute to 20% of Korea's GDP. Is that
it's the Galaxy Buds.
oh wow, lucky you. Purple too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I have problems in buying
Yes,
merch. If you
I
couldn't
know.
tell.
Well, I don't know if you can't tell, but
Oh
that's not from me. It's from Kayla. So
yeah.
she's a real BTS fan. I just like have an outside perspective, and I really enjoy their music. I like to focus on their music solely, not like to me. I used to be a musician, so I understand how they feel and stuff in terms of writing music and stuff. That and to me, I like their social life to a certain extent, but I like to focus on their music, and like to me, their music is very interesting, and I'm very excited to see what's going up ahead, like in the future per se.
I'm excited. We'll see what the next comeback holds.
Mm-hmm,
As per usual, there's always that sense of fear of we have no idea what they're doing because they're just going to
mm-hmm,
throw whatever they want at us at this point. And all right,
mm-hmm.
I,
Yes. I think we have reached the end of our podcast. I'd like to thank Kendra Carter for coming on to discuss her perspective about BTS and what kind of dedicated fan she is about BTS. If you want to find out who Kendra Carter is, I'll put links to her Instagram, her social media below. I hope Army, if you're watching this, appreciate this podcast to give a broader perspective to BTS, and hopefully you will guys would like the different perspective is shown. This is the end of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoy, and see you in the next episode. Bye.